Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to another edition of Unity Happy Hour, hosted by none other than our great friend and partner here at Bringing Humanity Together, Carla Finnegan. Uh, this is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella, where people can discuss topics related to the workplace, humanity in the workplace, in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are out there that are facing people because it is our goal to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Feel free to invite your friends, your coworkers, your fur babies, even bring it since today is National Dog Day. Bring the dog. We'd love to have them
You
today.
let the dogs out.
And just remember, we'll be, like I said, every Tuesday we'll be hosting Sharon Care or Sandy. As you see, Sandy Chernoff is with us today. I will host Conversation for Humanity on Wednesdays, and of course, every Thursday, Carla Finnegan hosts Humanity Happy Hour. As you jump on, whether to be on LinkedIn Live or on our YouTube channel, please feel free to comment in the chat where you're jumping on from, whether you're watching, listening, whatever that might be for you. Let us know what your thoughts is on today's topic and everything. Let us know where you're watching from, and even if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag use the hashtag replay in your comment. And like I said, if you have questions, concerns, comments, show topics, we would love to hear from you, and we'd love to reach out to you and just let people know we are able to have 6 people on at a time. So the live link will be in the comment section of YouTube and also on LinkedIn Live very shortly. So, hello, Carla and Sandy. And I think we have another guest coming on. Oh, it's Patrick. Hello,
Hey guys,
Patrick.
how are
Hi,
you?
Patrick. Nice to see you.
You too.
Hey.
So we're wanting to discuss more of what you were talking. I mean, I believe it was Lisa you said about. And I'm going to pull up the article here in just a second and share it with everybody about FOMO in the workplace. I've never heard of that one. That's a new one.
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. Yes. What does that look like? And here's the article from Datus FOMO in the workplace. So, Carla, take it away. What is your thought on what Lisa presented to us at the end of the call yesterday?
Well, I'm kind of like you. I'd never heard of, well, first off, until probably about 6 months ago or so, I never knew what FOMO was. I heard somebody mention it, and I'm like, what in the heck is that? And I went to look it up, and oh, fear of missing out. Okay, cute. And then when Lisa was talking about it yesterday at work, I'm thinking, have I ever been in a situation at work where I had the fear of missing out? So I really had to look into it and look at it from different articles, different angles. And I think that this article that she had given us yesterday really did a good job of that, about how it's important to keep people engaged. And while fear of missing out, people are thinking that they're missing something, can be positive or negative. The most important thing is to figure out how you can use that to your advantage. And I think probably the closest I've ever gotten to fear of missing out, or FOMO, was going on vacation and actually missing the people that you work with. I think if you're with a great group of people, they are kind of like we say down in the South, they're like family. You do miss connecting with the people that you work with, and their life pretty much, they know yours, and you're just one big cohesive group that works well together. But it can also be kind of negative too. You could have that on a personal level, that they talk about this article about how you could be like somebody that's always stepping up for committees because you don't want to feel left out. You want to be in the know on everything, and even though it may not even be a committee that's necessarily good for you, is that really the right thing for you? Um, some people feel like they're missing out or they're not included because maybe they're always eating lunch at their desk and not interacting with people in the break room and actually being part of the group. Some people look like they're constantly overwhelmed. So you give the illusion that you're constantly overwhelmed and overworked. They're not going to ask you to participate in a project or a committee because they don't think that you need one more thing on your plate, for example. They were talking about being honest to yourself and saying, do you really need to be on that committee? Is this really something appropriate for you to be doing? They talk about interacting with people in the break room, for example, and offering to work on particular projects because they're of interest to you. They talk about making yourself dispensable. You know, it's like somebody that cross trains in a job. They're more indispensable because they can fill in for anybody. When a lot of people call that being a team player, which I don't like that term. And just be realistic about it. Is it something that vibes you're putting off that are make it seem like you're missing out on everything, or are you truly missing out on everything? Are people not treating you well? It brings you back to the time I went to a restaurant with my dad, and there used to be this little old lady at the front who was the greeter. He reminded me of my ex-mother-in-law who was up there with Mother Teresa. And she was always nice to everybody, and she was just so unlike everybody else that worked there. So one day we went, and we noticed the service really wasn't that good, and we asked the manager, well, "What happened to the little lady that was at the front? Did she finally retire or whatever?" And she actually came out and said, "No, she didn't like the way we treated her." And I thought, let's not make them feel inclusive. Hey. And they were also talking about, sorry, I got my train of thought went woo. I was passing that off to Jim. They were talking about the negatives of FOMO, and they were talking about that a lot of people that have that fear of missing out, they're always in everybody else's business, so they're not as productive as they could be. And they are also maybe looking for a departmental change to do something else, do something new. So when you actually go back and look at what they're currently doing, they're not really engaged in what they're currently doing. And all those things really go into decreasing the productivity in the business. So you really have to kind of be watchful of that and see if that FOMO is negatively affecting your business and turn it into a positive. So my question to y'all is, has either of you guys ever experienced FOMO in the workplace?
For me, the only thing that I've experienced more often than not, Carla, is not able to truly connect with people on a meaningful human level. I don't fear of missing out at things at work because I put stock in only what I do when I do it at work. And whatever, let's say I don't get done or can't get done or whatever the case may be, I just let that be because it's going to be left at work. Because the one thing we tend to do sometimes is we bring our work home with us, so we don't want to fear of, like, if there was a proposal or an end deadline or something. I know there's a lot of people who do this. They bring their thing. I got to get it done. So and sometimes there's that natural balance is not really there where it should be. and I think it's all about prioritization and everything. But like I said, fear of missing out in the workplace, I've never really heard of it, and I've never really had to happen to me.
I've only experienced it with missing the great group of people I worked with.
Mhm.
It wasn't necessarily the work itself.
Right.
I mean, who misses the grind? But when you work with a great group of people that you know, maybe interact with socially outside of work, or you get together at work, and or maybe go out to lunch, or you have like uh, Friday fun days that you go out for dinner after work or something like that. Yeah, you know, you're not around, you miss that, you know. But I've never really missed it in terms of wanting to get into everybody else's business and change departments and things like that. I've never looked at it as I've never neglected my job.
What's
I
your
think
thoughts,
that was
Patrick?
a strange connection. I would have never have associated FOMO uh, with work. I think of FOMO in terms of, you know, you see a group of girls that go out for an event or something, and you're like, gosh, I should have just made the investment and went. Instead, I was being cheap and I didn't go, you know, and so you really kind of miss that you didn't take a part of it. Or sometimes it's something that you find out that somebody had that you weren't even invited to. I wouldn't say that that's a fear of missing out. I think I'd be kind of hurt. But, you know, it's used a lot of marketing of, hey, you know, get this product before they go, you know, limited edition, it's going to sell out quick. So people don't want to miss out, you know?
Right.
What about you, Patrick?
So this FOMO concept is kind of a new thing to me. It's, you just guys introduced it. I've never even heard the acronym before, but it does bring up some thoughts. To me, it's kind of broken down into two different levels: the company and a personal level. Because the company, no company can ensure making sure that everybody is involved at the rate in which they want to be involved, or where they feel like they need to be involved. That has to be managed through that person. So really, you know, if there's FOMO going on, could it be because there's a communication problem somewhere or a communication breakdown? Because communication is a huge driver of business failure, because things aren't properly communicated in the right way, or in a lot of companies, everything's being over communicated. Because when you look at your email and 90% of what you get, you don't even read, you know, it just becomes, it just becomes fluff. It becomes white noise. So, honestly, to me, this is kind of a COVID term, because there are so many people that are leaving the workplace and working from home. Sure, fear of missing out, yeah, because you're not surrounded with all by your coworkers and your colleagues and the people that you liked and the people you didn't like. And, you know, it's everybody. Yes, there's plenty of those. No, I like everybody. I'm kidding. But I think it's kind of, it's a term that's come out of this whole COVID debacle that's going on. Somebody had to label it, so that's what it became.
Okay.
I'll read the article later.
Well, they were talking in the article about how one of the ways that you could turn, you know, it's affected by the culture. You can change the culture to use FOMO in a positive way. And one of the things that they talked about was cutting down on the number of emails that you had. And I remember, like in healthcare, in the field I was in, reproductive endocrinology, they were always looking for better ways to do things and streamline. And to me, there were always positive things that they were changing. Sorry, I'll be right back. Y'all go on.
So while she's gone, the other thing that I thought about too is, if I as a person am inclusionary with the people around me, I will be included.
Right.
If I'm not inclusionary, I'm by myself. I'm independent, and that will lead to FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've never experienced it.
I neither.
I mean,
Well, let me ask you this then, Sandy. Was there a fear of missing out, especially when you worked the years of dental dentistry, when you were with your father and your brother? Did that really occur in the practice?
Not really, because again, we had monthly staff meetings, and sometimes if there were issues going on, we would have more frequent meetings. And we always discussed things that were going on so that everybody was in the loop. And that way, nobody ever felt that they were missing out on anything because we were told what was going on or what was expected, or if there was something new that we were going to be trying, and so on and so forth. And it was also the opportunity, for example, that we would, sort of play act an emergency in the office, and different kinds of things, that so everybody knew what to do if a situation arose and who was going to do what, and if they weren't there, who would take over that aspect of the situation. And it was just a matter of how we shared things, and we shared everything in the office. There was nothing that people didn't know. Everybody knew it, because it was important that the whole staff knew what was going on in order to be able to do whatever they needed to do according to what we were trying to change or add or whatever. So nobody ever felt left out.
Sandy, I'm willing to bet that you guys prioritize what you needed to discuss each week, right? So you didn't get overwhelmed. You only hit the high points and the big stuff, got that out of the way, and then everything else falls right in. Yeah.
And so people never felt that they were, sort of not important enough to know or whatever. It wasn't like that. And as I also mentioned yesterday, when somebody went to a continuing education course that the whole office didn't go to, at the next staff meeting, they would be asked to sort of give a summary of what they picked up at that course, so that again, everybody would have the opportunity to learn what you learned. So, it just depends on how the leadership sets up the organization and how things work. And none of us ever felt left out, because everybody was always informed. No matter what, we always knew what was going on. But again, that isn't how it works in every place. And of course, we didn't use emails there. We just talked. So, it was just a matter of having a discussion about what was going on or what we wanted to change, or if somebody had an idea. And it was just, we would share it at the staff meetings. And whenever anything was brought up, the good thing about those dentists were they would do it. I mean, they would take care of it. If there was something we felt needed to be done, they would do it. So it's just a matter of, again, how does your culture work? And it's set up and established by the leadership of the organization, whoever that is. And if you don't have good leadership, you don't have a good organization, because it just doesn't function well. And again, it's the old story. You can talk the talk, but if you're not walking the walk, nobody cares. So it's really important that the leadership set the example and be accountable and do what they want other people to do in terms
Sandy,
of.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it has to do with culture. It's the basis behind all of this. If you don't have the right culture, it's done, right?
Yeah, you're toast.
Yeah.
And there's so many places. I mean, Chris and I were talking about this before you two guys came on. There are some businesses that have good cultures. There are some.
Oh, yeah.
But I would venture to say that most don't. And people get stuck in their jobs because they need the money. They have family responsibilities. They got to pay bills. They got to buy food, all those kinds of things. And so sometimes they stay in a job, not because they like it, but because they're stuck. And that's really sad, because when people are stuck and they're unhappy and they're stressed out, they can get sick, because stress can cause irreversible physiological damage, and you can be in real trouble. But some people just get stuck, and it's really sad. But again, if the leadership doesn't commit to establishing and maintaining a good culture, it's not there. And a lot of organizations don't have it, and it's very sad. Because the other thing Chris and I were talking about, they've done a lot of research, particularly in the United States, where they've interviewed people. And about 70% of the population hate their jobs. That's pretty horrible. Well, it is sad, Carla. I agree with you. Because, when I went to work, when I was practicing hygiene, I looked forward to my days in the office. We had a lot of fun, and we all got along, and we enjoyed each other, and it was cool. And it wasn't until these two assholes bought the practice from my brother and his partner that everything changed. And I told you, the very first staff meeting we had, and he looked at us and he goes, "Okay, I want you to picture every new patient who walks in this office that's carrying 2 suitcases full of cash." And the other hygienist who was sitting beside me called and said, "I'm out of here." And she left. In 1 week, she was gone. And because it was just a totally different approach to what we'd always been doing in this practice. And it wasn't fun anymore because this guy was such an asshole. And he was screaming at his assistant. He was screaming at his receptionist. And it made the patients uncomfortable. It made all of us uncomfortable. Not a fun place to work when your boss is always yelling at everybody. I mean yelling. I mean, he was just a very nasty. He had a terrible anger management problem. I mean, that's just not a fun person to work for. I mean, my dad wasn't like that, and his partner wasn't like that. My brother's not like that. I mean, that was never an issue when it was, when we had other people in there. Another dentist that was in there, Chris, he was never like that either. And we just always had fun, And
what a nice night.
Yeah, I mean, the patients were comfortable because we were all relaxed and everything, and so it just made it easier for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you don't have somebody who sets that tone, then it's an ugly place to work. And there are a lot of people who just don't know how to communicate effectively. They don't know how to deal with people in an appropriate manner. And therefore, they set up a very uncomfortable culture in the workplace. And that's really not very much fun to be in. I mean,
I'd be curious if we put out a survey or somebody did some research around this, going to businesses and saying, "Hey, what is your culture? Is it even defined? Have they even started that process?" Because the culture comes down to, is it a centralized view? Is it communicated? And then is it supported? If you don't have all these things in place,
we got a job to do.
Yeah. So I honestly, I think you'd find 95% of companies don't have their culture defined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're just tripping along.
Because they've never set it up, and they've never committed to it, and they've never maintained it. Because again, it should be respectful, it should be supportive, it should be encouraging, and it should be acknowledging. And if you do all those things, you're going to have very happy employees because they're going to feel valued. They're going to feel like they know what they're doing and how to do it. And it's a whole different mindset as opposed to a place where, you don't know if they're going to get yelled at, and you're walking around on eggshells all the time. That's not a very comfortable way to work. And there are lots of places that are like that, where you just, you're afraid all the time because somebody's going to yell at you or, whatever. And a lot of people they're not accountable. They don't take responsibility for what they do. They blame other people. So you're wondering if you're going to get blamed for something that you didn't actually do, but they did. And it just, it was never like that in our office. And so there was never the concern that that's what was going to happen until this guy bought the practice. And then, I told you he yelled at me, and I didn't do anything wrong. I got the dentist on the floor to do the exam for the patient. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were told to do. I didn't even know he was in the office. He came in the back door and went directly into his private office. I didn't even know he was in the office. He came and yelled at me, "You should have got me to do the exam," blah, 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 screaming at me. And of course, I had another patient in the chair by then, and they're looking, like this. And yeah, exactly, Carla. I'm like, what's going on here? And so I finally just said to him, his name was Patrick. I said to him, "Go away. I'm working. If you want to have a discussion with me about something like this, then we should do it either in your private office or in the staff lounge, not here in the clinic where everybody can hear it, because it's inappropriate. And frankly, I didn't do anything wrong." So after I finished that patient, then, he said, "I'm your boss. You have to do what I say, You have to respect me." It's an interesting concept. I said, respect is something that's earned. And this sort of behavior is never going to earn my respect for you. I've been practicing dental hygiene longer than you've been alive. And I've been in this practice a lot longer than you have. And you need to value what those of us who've been here for a long time provide for the practice, and how we know the patients better, and so on and so forth. And yelling at us doesn't help. So don't you ever do that again. He says, "Well, I'm your boss." I said, "I know you're the boss, but that doesn't give you the right to yell at us in the clinic in front of everybody else in the clinic and make us uncomfortable and embarrassed and make everybody else uncomfortable and embarrassed."
And it affects your customer service.
I mean, it's horrible. Absolutely horrible, Patrick. And
Yeah, I've
eventually,
been in that situation.
I left. I mean, I told him I was leaving. He said, "You can't do that." I said, "Watch me." So I walked out.
Bye. Bye.
Well,
I mean, it just
well,
wasn't fun anymore. It really wasn't fun anymore. This guy was such an asshole. It was terrible. And my brother kept phoning me because David already left. And he kept saying to me, "Why are you staying there? You're helping them."
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
It's interesting that you mentioned that that they should treat people as coming in with suitcases of cash. It reminds me of an audiologist I knew who left a practice and went to another practice, and she was literally told it was a smaller practice, kind of like in one of those strip mall type things where the shops are right there at the parking area, not like in a practice up on the fifth floor of a high rise or anything. They said, base your prices on what kind of car they show up in. She left.
I don't blame her. Kind of a car they show up in. Honest to God.
Yeah. They pull up in a Mercedes, you set your prices appropriately. If they show up in an Audi, you know.
That sounds so 1970s business, doesn't it?
It's awful.
Very dated.
So wrong.
Yeah,
So
it's
wrong.
a terrible approach.
Yeah.
I mean,
Before I was distracted by my dog and someone at my front door, I was talking about communication. And in this article, they were talking about limiting the communication that you send out. And I experienced that. Well, it didn't bother me. It bothered other people that they were like, every time we turn around, they're changing this and they're changing that. And they're sending out an email, about this and that. And all these things are changing all the time. And I said, well, do you want it on Friday afternoon? And then you can probably say, I'm not going to worry about it till Monday. And then you're pressed to look at it on Monday. But some emails have to go out. You can't just say, I'm just going to do a weekly newsletter. It doesn't always work that way. You can. Sometimes you need to change things, and they have to change them now. They can't wait till next week or so.
yeah. Well, this actually came from Graham, if you can believe it. Graham's actually watching live right now as we speak.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
So you need to come on here live, Graham. Chris has got a dinner riding on this.
And this is what he just said as well. Sandy makes some interesting points on how people behave in the workplace. I sometimes feel being right is seen being more important than practicing vulnerability. What does the panel think? What's your thoughts on what Graham just said?
It's interesting. I think that, again, being right, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, who needs to be right? And why is it so important, right? That doesn't make any sense. So to me right there, if that person feels like they have to be right, something's broken in the culture.
Yeah.
Or something is broken down in the chain between that person and their superior or even people that are underneath them.
Yeah.
There's a breakdown.
It's a matter of getting along.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be right all the time, but you need to be doing things that make other people feel comfortable and, helping out in whatever way you can and doing your job, whatever it might be. It's not about being right. It's about being a good person, and being a good team member. I mean, it's collaborative. It's, we work together to achieve whatever we're trying to achieve. Somebody doesn't need to be right. They just need to be doing their job.
But I want to know the relationship between what you're talking about, Graham, about being right and being vulnerable.
Well, for me, it comes right back down to this quote, and it's worked so well. Doing the right thing is the right thing to do because you can't go wrong with right, Graham. If we just do the things that are innate to us, that are humanly possible for us to do, like understanding, compassion, leadership,
Empathy.
empathy, and acknowledging people for where they sit in their model of the world. And once we go seek that information or seek that opportunity to connect, that's outside of our model of the world, then we can truly connect on a deep, meaningful human level because, number one, we're all sitting at the same table of humanity. We're already there. And if we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, because you can't go wrong with right, then when they see that and they know and it's tangible to them, and we're giving that value back out to them in that, like I said, deep, meaningful human way, then it takes another step forward. And it then becomes more not only of a collaborative mindset, it becomes a community mindset. And everybody gets engaged and be a part of something bigger than themselves. So that's what it goes for me.
Chris,
Well,
I think we have
vulnerability.
it in two different ways.
See,
So-
vulnerability, Chris, you can show your vulnerability. Even a leader can show their vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely. I
If
agree.
they admit their
I agree.
mistakes, if they admit their mistakes.
I do not like this whole vulnerability in the workplace at all, because vulnerability indicates it's a personal issue that needs to be resolved. But if you got decency, decency is shared. Both sides work together to achieve
You need
decency.
to be accountable, Patrick. We need to
Yeah.
take responsibility for what we do. And if the leader makes a mistake, they're human too. They can make a mistake.
Yep.
And they need to say, team, this was my mistake.
Yep.
I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to fix it. And I apologize for the outcome. I mean, that shows that they're human, just like everybody else. But they own up to it. And if they own up to it, then other people can own up to their mistakes too and find a way to fix it. And if you can do that, I mean, you're human. I mean, we're not perfect. All of us make mistakes. It's just the way it is. But you need to take responsibility for it. You need to be accountable for what you do. And if you are, then people will trust you. So, it's just a matter of how do you behave.
So I like what Chris is saying about doing the right thing, and it's the right thing to doing the right thing is the right thing to do. You can't go wrong with right. Okay. We all know that in life there are right things to do and there are wrong things to do. Okay. But what I think he might be talking about, or Graham might be talking about, is there are some people that believe whatever their option is, and I can put a current day affair with this, in their mind, this is what we're going to do. It is right. We are going to do it. Oh, I didn't see the unforeseen consequences of it, but what we're doing is still right in their mind. They are so dead set against what they've decided to do, no matter what the consequences, it's going to be right. We're not going to look at what's happening as a side effect of what I've chosen to do, but what I'm doing is right. And damn it, you're going to believe that it's right. And what I say goes. That is a description of right. And it's so different from saying, okay, I thought that this was the right direction that we should go in. It's totally taken a course that I never expected. I am sorry. Let's rethink this together as a group and come up with a different strategy that suits our purpose better. There's a huge difference in that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. And this is what Graham just said. He said, I was thinking that the vulnerable leader who can admit that they don't know, but this can be often seen as a weakness in the workplace. Plus, the focus can shift towards proving yourself right as the opposed working together to be productive. And the end of his comment was just what I observed from time to time. And that's truly powerful at Graham. And we would love to hear more from you on that because, again, it goes right back to what Sandy has said. We can all just be human beings. And the more that we can just be human and be who we are, we can get not only better connected with everybody else on the team, but everybody else on the team can be better connected with us, even from a point of leadership. Because we're all in that together. We've been hearing it for over 2+ years now. We're all in this together. Well, we should always be in it together no matter what, whether to be in the workplace, whether it be in our communities, with whatever that may look like to us. But see, we have to set not only the intentionality, but we have to set the focus into what we do and why we do it, and show people this is what we stand for. This is what we're about. Our values, our principles, our ethics. And again, if people resonate with that, that they're on board with the commonalities of the very shared values of the community or an organization, not only will the community grow and thrive even more exponentially than what was once before, the very same community that we live in is going to be, by very definition, the very same community that we work in. They're interconnected, they're one and the same. And if we can kind of put that and bridge that together, we can do what we're set out to do, not only from an organizational standpoint, but from a community standpoint as well.
We all look so serious as we're sitting here on screen going like, I thought it was me because I saw when Chris reposted the thing. I'm like, I'm looking at all of us here. I'm going, oh my goodness. Okay, so here's what I think. Graham, I think that people see it as a vulnerability because we are so hung up on perfection and not treating people as human beings with imperfections.
Also, we are people that tend to fall into fear. And if we get fear that controls us, sure, stuff's going to happen. It's not going to be very positive.
No.
I agree.
Yeah.
And see,
by the way, Graham, great quote, by the way. So thank you for that.
but let's take it down this road too for a second. What if fear is only a construct? If the fear of missing out is basically a construct that has been told to us that we have to be missing out on what's being done at work or whatever, what if that wasn't even real? That's just being projected onto us. It's what I've learned so much from Brian Sumner and from Graham too as well, is we shouldn't put our reality on someone else's reality thinking that that's their reality when it's not. It's our perception thereof. So if we can let go of that fear of whatever that is, then we can be better connected not with ourselves, but we can be better connected with those people as well, because we are not constructing that fear mechanism there when in fact it may not even be there, it may not even be needed. But then again, if other people are telling us that, whether it be in a conversation or an opportunity presents itself or whatever, it's like what I've learned from Brian. There's three things that we can do. Number one, we can seek to understand it. Got it, good, love it. But number two, we can buy right into what they're telling us. Whatever even they are saying, whether it be from a leadership position or a team member position, it doesn't really matter. But number three, I don't have to buy into it at all. I can just literally let it go. So, but on all 3 points, though, what Brian has taught me and Graham has taught me so well in is I can be respectful of each and every single dynamic that's there, of the conversation, of the opportunity. I'm letting it be for what it is. And we've talked this about before. If we just let things be for what they are meant to be, there can even be a point of transformation that comes out of that. And transformation is technically change onto itself because we're allowing that change to occur for a better outcome. And if we can do that and let it be for what can be transformative, not only for us, but also for everyone on the team as well, what cannot be achieved and what cannot be attained for a better outcome. And I say this to people every day: create better environments, you get better results.
Yep.
And this
Well, even with change, Chris, when change is imposed on people and they have no input in what that change is going to be or how it's going to work, it's not very comfortable. And oftentimes people don't welcome it. They don't want to really take part in it. But if you have a collaborative approach to change, where here's something that we need to look at. So what do you guys think? What do you think would work very well? And so when people have the opportunity to have input in how something is going to change or something is going to move forward in a different way, they're going to be far more likely to embrace it and to start using it when they have had some input rather than when it's just imposed on you.
I completely agree with you, what you just said, Sandy, because,
You
but the
may
thing
get
is,
another approach to it that you'd never thought of.
right. But the other thing too is, if you impose change, it's not going to work. Period. I mean, it'll work for a while maybe, but it's not going to have longevity.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so much pushback from it from the people who just don't like it. So it's not going to work. Now, as far as the contribution from everybody doesn't have to be involved in the process, but just to have an outlet for them to be able to say, hey, I like this, or no, I don't like this. That right there will send your business a lot further ahead than you can ever imagine.
It's just, it's huge. I mean, because that's what we used to do at our staff meetings. If somebody had an idea that they wanted to change something or do something in a different way, so we'd bring it up at the staff meeting and then we'd discuss it. Well, what do you think about that? Well, we could do it that way, but maybe if we just did it this way, along with that, whatever, and we would have a discussion and then it would move forward because everybody had, or anybody who wanted to put their 2 cents worth in, did so. And we all agreed in the end that, yeah, this would be something good. We should move forward with this. But, everyone had a chance to listen and participate if they wished. And that way, you feel like you took part in what was going to move forward. But, when somebody just, this is what you have to do. No, right. It's not a very comfortable approach.
Well, that's also what comes up for me too as well. If we want our organizations to be better at what we do and why we do it and everything, number one, when we hire people, to me, I think it's should be done from a reverse dynamic of what we've done traditionally for probably hundreds and hundreds of years. We look at a sheet of paper and we expect what's on that sheet of paper to tell us and guide us of what should be done when it comes to a new hire or potential applicant or candidate. No, I always have told people go beyond the resume, go beyond the profile, and get to know the people for who they are and where they're at. Number one, if we get to find out what their values are in alignment with an organization, we should be as leaders to be able to seek out that alignment as well as they should too on their end too as well. Because if that alignment is not there, then it's like what Graham and Brian has talked about with me in a chat. It's like two tennis players that's actually in a doubles match. There's going to be one tennis player that hits the other tennis player's guts. Don't like him, hate him, whatever the case may be, but they know that they have a job to do. Get it, got it. So they take their skill sets and use them to the best of their ability to get the match won. Or same thing with a football team, soccer team, whatever. That can be achieved if everybody knows their role and their place within that organizational structure and everything like that. And I truly believe
I think it's important to get to know people past their
that'd be a
resume.
better way to go. What's that, Carla?
I think it's important to get to know people past their resume. It's just like you're looking at their LinkedIn page. Don't take people for their face value on your LinkedIn page. You can get to know, you get to learn a lot about people by just having a conversation with them. And it's amazing what commonalities you'll find out that you have that aren't necessarily on their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page or whatever, or on that resume. Because you can't put everything on there. We're all connected somehow.
Correct. And also, this is what I truly believe too as well. The things that are in alignment with each other, like with us here at Bringing Humanity Together, the things that are in alignment that we just know innately that this is why we are here and this is what we've been called to do and that's why we are on this journey together. I believe you can build upon that. Positive, step by step, day by day, you can do it. It can be done. But more importantly, the things that are not in alignment with an employee, which I hate to use that term because I believe in partnerships versus employees anyways. But when it comes to that partnership dynamic, If you're truly invested in somebody and they are invested in you, to me, the best investment is human investment. But when the things that are not alignment, when from comes from a team aspect and a whole team, not just part team, but a whole team, then we can even build upon that too as well and say, I recognize not only your greatest strengths, but even your weakest strengths, and take it from there and say, hey, let's build upon that. Because we know that we can always take a negative and turn it into a positive, just like what Lisa said yesterday, taking FOMO and using it as a for a positive outcome and a positive outlook. That can be achieved. But we just have to be intentional about it, number one. And we also have to be not necessarily convincing enough, but be really steadfast and steadstrong into the belief that's the said outcome that we're seeking, not only for me, but for Carla, Sandy, Patrick, Lisa, whoever that might be, Graham, whoever that is. It's going to be the outcome that we all should seek. And the more that we say that and do that, and like you say, Sandy, it's about walking the walk and talking the talk at the same time. Doing as you do. And I truly believe that's a great way forward for us, not only from an organizational structure, but from the humanity community structure as well.
Yep. It has to be intensity, Chris.
You were talking about human investment is the best investment, right? And I completely agree with that statement. But as it relates to FOMO, yes, let's use FOMO for good, but also let's look for instances where FOMO is bad and learn from those mistakes, correct them, and move on. So I think it's kind of a duality between the two sides, because sometimes you can learn more from the bad than you can from good.
True.
I agree.
We learn from mistakes. We make mistakes, but they're opportunities to learn.
How the FOMO is negatively affecting your business, you can use that and turn it into something positive. It's going to positively affect your culture in your business. But first off, you have to realize that what is existing and take an honest look at what's going on in your business, and want to have the desire to turn that around.
Right.
Well, I'm going to look this up because I'm on the go. Books.google.com. There's a book that I believe that this is going to be of great interest to everyone. I'll have to find it. So just give me a second. So you guys keep talking, and I'm looking for it, and I'm going to share it on the screen here shortly.
What do you want us to talk about, Chris?
You're in charge, Sandy. Go.
Again, it all has to do with the way a culture is set up and how people fit into it. And, when people are on the same page and they're working together to achieve some outcome or to fulfill some project or whatever, and we're all helping each other and we're all working together, it's got to be good. But if there's a lot of discontent, and if people aren't happy with each other and they are angry that, one person doesn't pull their weight or, whatever, then it doesn't help the team. It really doesn't. So it's a matter of everybody pulling together. And if that happens, you got a great team and you're going to have great outcomes. But it has to be, again, it's got to be exemplified by the leadership. So, the team leader should do it. Exception to the rule. What is this?
Exception to the rule
Yes.
is a book that was given to me from a friend of mine. His name was TJ Shark. In fact, his girlfriend at the time, I think they're still together, worked at either one of the two companies that's mentioned in here, Parker Hannafin or the Cleveland Clinic. I forget which one it is, but I think it's Dr. Klopp he actually worked under at one point. Well, what they've done at these two organizations, the Parker Hannafin of Cleveland Clinic, they have taken character-based, virtue-based leadership and instituted it for over 12 plus years in their organization. I highly recommend this book. In fact, I will put it into the chat uh, for everyone to see because I think it's going to be of a great. I mean, I got the audio version because I just like to take things in audio wise better than I do reading it. I just get so much more out of it. So I just put it in the chat. There it is, playing.google.com. And if you want to know more of it, just reach out to me, and I would love to have that conversation with you. But that to me is showing about how we can truly be. Even I just listened to the introduction, everyone, it really spoke to me of why I am bringing humanity together in the way that we're doing it right here, right now. It was just so clear to me. And I believe that's going to be a great way forward. So I highly encourage you to not watch, but listen or read the book version of it. Because it plays to what we're doing. And this is what just Graham just said. What you think about this? Culture match, recruit by values. Ooh,
Got this thing right here.
Well, again, Chris, it's about being on the same page. When people are on the same page and you sort of believe in the same things and you have your humanity, then it's a lot better. There's a much better chance that people are going to get along and that they're going to work together well and so on and so forth. When you get people that are sort of nasty and make other people uncomfortable and there are people like that. You have to feel sorry for them. They probably have something bad happen to them at some point in their life, and now they build this armor around themselves that makes them into a difficult person. Difficult people are hard to work with. And it's a matter of, sometimes you can find ways to deal with them more successfully, but not always. And some people just like to be difficult.
I think in getting to know people and figuring out who you want to, work with, who you want to have on your team, who you want to have as a power partner, you kind of just in the conversation start to quantify them based on common values. We're doing it anyway, or at least
we are. That we are.
It is important, Carla.
So this whole recruit by values, very, very interesting statement. I think it's a very high level statement that needs to be kind of dissected and defined more. But, to me, if you're not starting with values being the most important thing when you recruit, then you're missing the boat. Because it's values, because those are directly correlated into your culture. That's what helps defines culture. So you got to start with the values first, and then go into skills and everything else later down the road.
You got to be on the same page. Yep. Not on the same page, you're not going to function well together. It's
like I said before, the next currency of humanity is going to be rooted in value, not money. Once we showcase that very value to people and it's tangible to them and they know it, it's in their hearts and they feel it, and they know that sense of belonging and alignment, it's all in alignment, and it goes to their values and their model of the world, that we can become not only better leaders, but also we can become better guides, not only on their journey, but also they can also become better leaders and better guides even on our journey. They're, like I said, they're interconnected, they're intertwined. So once we realize that there's nothing that we cannot achieve or do in our business life as well as our personal life. So Carla, let's start the call to action. What would be the call to action that we would ask each and every single one of us watching today? What would be the first step into that?
Oh gosh. In terms of fear of missing out, I think if you're actually experiencing it, number one, you need to read the article that we had up, and maybe we can post that on our page, our LinkedIn page. But like it said in the article, do a fair assessment of yourself and figure out. So a lot of people are so quick to just judge everybody that they work with. They don't like me, or I'm not included. I don't feel included. Well, turn around and look at how you're presenting yourself to them and figure out if it might be something you're doing.
Lots of people don't do that, Carla. They
Oh, I
look
know.
to other people to blame, to blame. So
It
yeah.
takes a big person to do that.
Well, and the thing is this again, if you're nice to others, the chances are they're going to be nice to you. If you're dismissive or you're, not nice and don't help out in different ways, why would anybody help you? I mean, who would care? So yes, I think the value piece is very important. We've got to be on the same page. We have to have the same basic values, and we have to be looking at how we deal with others. And if you can't get along with other people, you're not going to be a good person. It's not going to fit. So it's very important to know how to get along with other people, to be able to communicate effectively, to be able to listen. I mean, probably in my opinion, anyway, the most important communication skill is active listening. If you can listen well, that's how you can learn about other people. And if you can learn about other people and what matters to them and what concerns them and those kinds of things, you have a far better chance of dealing with them effectively. I mean, you can't listen if you're talking. So, you have to.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a matter of really paying attention to what matters to people. And if you can do that, you have a far better chance of dealing with them more effectively in the end. So it's very important for leaders and for colleagues to listen to one another and to find out what matters to them and, the different kinds of things. And if we can do that, we're going to have a far better chance of having a good team and a good culture, because when people are getting along and working together in a positive way, it just, you don't need to worry about the culture. It's going to be good. And again, when people are happy and enjoying their work, you don't need to worry about customer service, because if they're proud of where they are, then they're going to want the customers to be happy too. So you don't need to worry about teaching them about customer service. They're going to be good to the customers. So,
and as you would say, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Sandy's going to have, when Sandy dies one day, she's going to have 2 things on her headstone. What is it we're doing? It's not rocket science.
Patrick, what's your thoughts?
So, call to action. If this FOMO thing does exist in a workplace, I believe, again, I think it's a twofold approach. Each person has to do the assessment, like you were saying, Carl, earlier. You have to look at yourself, because if you just tripped and fell, that means it's going to have a downstream effect. We are all interconnected together. And so it has to be looked at a personal level, but also has to look at on a company level as being connected to the culture and what downstream effects it has from that as well. So basically, I think what it all comes down to is we all have a responsibility to keep an eye out. Does it exist? And if it does, we have a responsibility to correct it. By the way, before we move up FOMO, this weekend, a couple days ago, I watched on Netflix. It's a documentary called Fantastic Fungi. Watch it.
Fantastic.
You talk about fantastic fungi. Let me tell you something. You talk about humanity. We're made of that stuff. We're made of mushrooms, basically, and they could talk you through it. But the way they relate it in the fungi world as to how we interact on a daily basis is very, very compelling. I recommend it.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
Do you have a screenshot of that or a link to it to where we can post it on our page?
I'll get one.
Okay.
That'll be perfect.
That'd be cool. And maybe Chris, you could put the book on there that you were talking about, the audiobook.
Yeah, I will put that book on our business page. I think
you can put that article for people to read too.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, my call to action is simply this. Again, I will go back to this quote because I truly believe in it. Doing the right thing is the right thing to do. You can't go wrong with right. If we can all just do the right thing by each other, that's in alignment with our values, our ethics, our principles, our morals. I believe that makes not only us better as a society, but that makes us better inside of the community that we are part of in an organizational construct. Because, like you said, the very same company, I mean, not the very same community that we live in is the very same community that we work in. They're interconnected, they're intertwined. So that would be my call to action. Just simply stated just that as that. That'd be the great way to move things forward, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Have a great evening.
All right. Well, then,
Sure.
all righty, everyone. Have a great day. Make it your day. We'll see you for Sharing Care with Sandy next Tuesday.
You guys
Okay.
have a great weekend.
All right.
You too.
Have a good